Welcome into the Scuttlebutt's preview of Rivalry Week, this 14th week of college football. Please like and subscribe, and let's get into it. The Egg Bowl, number 6 Ole Miss at Mississippi State. This one is a must-watch game every season, as crazy things happen. This year the Egg Bowl should be another fun one in Starkville. The hate is real between these two teams. With all the theater and distractions surrounding Lane Kiffin's coaching future should lead to an Egg Bowl victory for Mississippi State. However, Ole Miss is just too good, and I just can't see it happening barring multiple turnovers by Ole Miss. This state team can be stubborn, but the Rebels can simply light up the scoreboard with their impressive quarterback Chambliss and running back Lacey, which has over 1,000 yards rushing and 19 touchdowns. Ole Miss was lackluster against the Gators, but they should be ready for this massive in-state hated rivalry. I think Mississippi State hangs in there as long as they can and brings a fight to Ole Miss late in the first half, but Ole Miss will get loose in the second half and should win by at least 14 points to cover the large 7.5-point spread. The scuttlebutt for this game is Lane Kiffin will end up and the Florida Gators' next head coach. Number 3 Texas A&M goes to number 17 Texas. The Aggies are a real national title contender, but the Texas roster from top to bottom is better than the Aggies. However, that Longhorn talent hasn't shown its face much this season. Yes, Texas beat the brakes off a very average Arkansas team. However, they received a belt to the backside when they played them dogs in Athens, Georgia. Texas still can't run the football ball, and if we learn anything from the Georgia game, Arkmanen could have his hands full against a fast and hungry Aggie defense. Let's face it, the Texas offensive line needs to improve, and this matchup against a stellar Aggies front seven could spell trouble for the Longhorns. The Texas offensive line will have to give Manning time to let those deep crossing routes develop, which to simply be a task too big to accomplish. If the Aggies quarterback Marcel Reed doesn't throw picks and gets ball effectively to his outstanding wideouts, they will control this game and be very hard to beat. The atmosphere in Texas Memorial Stadium will be loud, and the fans are hungry to get a victory against their hated rival. This will be a four-quarter game, and once again Texas has the more talented roster. However, Texas A&M is just the better team right now. This is not your dad's Texas Aggies team. This team is a serious national title contender, and this game will mean more to the Aggies than the Longhorns. With that, I have Aggies winning late and covering the 2-point spread. The scuttlebutt for this game, Texas is starting to realize they can't just buy a successful roster, and Steve Sarkisian will entertain openings in the NFL. Number 1 Ohio State, number 18 Michigan. What a classic here with the Ohio State Buckeyes versus the Michigan Wolverines in Ann Arbor. Some say Ohio State is the best team in college football, and in the last 2 years Ohio State has beaten everyone but Michigan. Let's cut to the chase here. Ohio State is simply the better team here, right? Or at least on paper, and the record demonstrates it. However, this Michigan team is a good team and has an outstanding young quarterback in Bryce Underwood. However, can Bryce carry the Wolverines to a victory against a nasty and stingy Buckeye defense? I don't think so. Ohio State hasn't played a quality opponent all season, well, let's say a national contender. However, they are loaded and are favorites to win the national title again this year. Now let's be honest, Michigan will fight and be physical along the lines of scrimmage, but the Buckeyes are more talented and will pull ahead in the second half of this contest. Furthermore, I'm just saying that Sayin is an elite quarterback and paired with the best receiver room in the country, who is going to beat them. Not the Wolverines. This is Ohio State's year to turn the tide on this rivalry and covers the massive 10.1/5 point spread. The scuttlebutt here is watch the offseason for transfers on both teams to fill voids on teams with newly hired head coaches. Number 7 Oregon at Washington. Dan Lanning is on a mission to rewrite the wrong in the Ducks lost in their quest to the national championship in last year's playoffs. I don't know if this is a truly hated rivalry between the Oregon Ducks and the Washington Huskies, but if the Ducks are serious about being a national football champion contender, they will have to pull out a win on the road against a very talented Husky team led by a superstar and quarterback Tamon Williams. But let's face it, the Ducks roster is better on paper. They have better supporting players for quarterback Dante Moore that is one of the best in the Big Ten, which has notable wins against Iowa and USC. With that said, this will be a close game, but the Husky defense will not get the needed stops in the second half of this contest, and the Ducks will pull off the win on the road but doesn't cover the 6-point spread. Some of the Ducks fans will be upset they lost some cash on the game but should be happy to make the Big Ten Conference Championship game. The scuttlebutt here is that Oregon will be overlooking this contest, and to concerned with the playoff bracket, they better not, as a loss in this game could be the end of the Ducks' playoff hope, even with just 2 losses. Number 14 Vanderbilt at number 20 Tennessee. I can't remember the last time Vandy was in the National College Football headlines. This Vandy team led by Diego Pavia is gritty and has newly found confidence. The Volunteers are a good football team, and remember, they could have beat Georgia if they had made a late field goal. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Vandy could win this game. Heck, a few turnovers could lead to a Vandy blowout of the Tennessee Volunteers. However, this game is being played on Rocky Top, one of the loudest road environments in the country. With that being said, the Vols will do enough to keep Pavia off the field and give Vandy the little brother treatment in the 4th quarter. The Volunteers get the win in Knoxville and cover the 2-point spread, sending Vandy back to the buses, saying Rocky Top all the way back to Nashville. The scuttlebutt to watch for is if Vandy misses the playoffs due to a loss simply because Vandy can't recruit to the level of their other conference foes, Clark Lee May, to opening at bigger programs such as Penn State. Yes, I know Coach Lee is a Vandy alumni, but he is smart enough to know Vandy has reached their ceiling as a program in this competitive conference. Number 10 Alabama at Auburn. This matchup is always entertaining, well, at least when it is played on the Auburn campus. Some say the field at the Jordan-Hare Stadium is haunted due to what it was developed over. The kick six always comes to mind when thinking about this game. This Auburn team has a very good defense, holding 5 teams this year to under 20 points. What is unexplainable is that the Auburn offense is nowhere to be found. Cobb at running back and Coleman at receiver are elite players, but it's not showing on the scoreboard. The Tiger needs a spark, so watch for Deuce Knight to come off the bench sometime during the game when Auburn gets behind on the scoreboard. The mighty Alabama can't consistently run the football, however, the defense is elite, and quarterback Simpson is a superstar that would start on most teams around the country. Let's be frank, Alabama is the better team and should win the game and cover the 5-point spread. But if there is any witchcraft showing up late in the 4th quarter, the Tigers could pull off the upset. The scuttlebutt here is Auburn might lose half their roster during the transfer window. The Tigers are simply down and out right now. Clemson at South Carolina. This one is straightforward. Clemson is a bad team in a bad conference, and South Carolina is a good team in the best conference in the country. I hope Clemson is up to date on their vaccinations, as the South Carolina fans will be rabid. The Sellers brothers are going to put on a clinic as South Carolina wins and cover the easy 2.5-point spread. The scuttlebutter is, will the Clemson administration finally see it's time for a coaching change, or will Tyler from Spartanburg make an appearance again to motive Dabo Swinney again? Number for Georgia at number 23 Georgia Tech. It's time for some clean old-fashioned hate. The Bulldogs' Gunnar Stockton and Georgia Tech's Haynes King are among nation's top quarterbacks. Both are dual-threat tough runners that are very capable of throwing the ball down the field. Looking at the rosters outside the quarterback position, Georgia is hands down deeper and more talented across the board. Buster Faulkner, the Jackets' offensive coordinator, spent time at Georgia and knows the Bulldog defense. I expect the Jackets to keep this game close early, however the Bulldogs are just too talented and will pull away from the Jackets, covering the 12.5-point spread. Heck, Georgia may drop a 40-burger on the Jackets out of pure hate. The scuttlebutt here is, can Brent Key ever get over the Georgia hump? If not, who will part ways first, Georgia Tech or Key to another team? Please like and subscribe, and come back to reactions to the final scores of Week 14 and a preview of the conference championship games.